Okay. Talk to me. Okay, why did you guys record Truth Gives Wings to Strength, just you and Banks?
Well, Banks was still real deep in visual discrimination. He was still, he was still part of that band, and they were still writing, and they were still playing shows. And I wanted to. Banks and I had talked about doing some sort of project, some sort of band, something. We sort of thought we were inspired by we really liked the Madball 7-inch when it came out. It had little Freddie singing, and he was like a little dude, and we just thought this is so great, it's so raw, and we were inspired by that a little to push it a little bit farther. We love Judge, and we love some of those New York bands, but there was something about that Madball 7-inch that came out that we just were like, not like if these guys can do it, anybody can. We were more like, this is awesome because this is Roger's little brother, and he's got a little band, and so we started meeting on a regular basis at Cerritos Park East, where he worked, and he worked there 3-4 days a week, and they had he was in charge of the kids and games and after school sort of events. But while they were out doing their thing, or before they would come, we would talk band stuff, we would talk lyrics, we would talk all kinds of different ideas, until one day we just said, fuck it, let's put these songs together. And Banks says, I got these riffs, and he gave me a cassette that he had recorded all these riffs on. Every song that's on the chorus record he had on a cassette tape. So he's like, here's a cassette tape that's got all these songs, and it's just him in his room playing these riffs. And sometimes it wasn't a full song, sometimes it was half a song. He's like, can you write to this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I can write to this. So we just thought, well, let's just do it, just the two of us. There's no reason. Banks knew how to play the drums. I could play the bass. He could play the bass as well. He'd do all the guitars. Between the two of us, we got it. We got it down. So we just said, fuck it. We're just going to do it. We're just going to go for it. We decided on a name, Boiling Point, and then we had heard or thought that there was a band on the East Coast called Boiling Point. So we changed it immediately. I chose A Chorus of Disapproval because of the play. I saw it on a big banner at the over by the Segerstrom Theater. They're having the play there. I'm like, that's a great band name. A little long, but it's a great band name. And then I thought, there's so many different ways we could play it. We could put, we could just call it chorus, put the big X's. There's a bunch of different ways. I like to try to be able to branch out and change the logos and the names of things. So we decided to go with that name. We went to a studio we saw an ad in the back of BAM magazine, Zuzu Music. I think it may have been in Gardenia somewhere. Guy had a back garage studio. He had never seen or heard the likes of us, because we came in there just young and just pissed. And the guy's like, yeah, you can use my drum set. I got a drum set. It's great. And, Banks gets in there and just starts putting dents in every drum head the guy's got. He's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he was this French guy. He was like, he had this French accent. He had a little bit of that attitude too. Whoa, whoa. His Banks is beating on the drums. The guy's complaining about it. We end up doing the demo, and we play it for a couple of people, and we're like, this is really great. Just for two people especially, this is really awesome.
How many songs was that demo?
That was, I think we did 5 songs, and I think we may have done 6 songs, and 2 of them may have been covers. I'm not sure. All the songs ended up on the record except one that we recorded, but we never finished for the LP. So we had I think the demo was 6 songs, maybe 5. Visual Discrimination ended up using one of the songs on their second record, In Vain. That was called Enough Said. That was on our demo. They ended up using it, so Chorus never re-recorded that one, so that didn't make it ever onto a recording. But when we did the record, when we did the LP, we decided that Banks was like, no, it's got to be an LP. We're going to record an LP. That's that. We're going to come out swinging, just the two of us with a full LP. We'd skip the 7-inch. That was the thing. Like, you start with a 7-inch, then maybe you do a second 7-inch. Somebody picks you up. You do an LP. You do a couple LPs, whatever. Then you break up. That's how most of the bands did it. But Banks is like, no, straight up LP. So we had these songs. He gave me the cassette. I would take them home to my place in Placentia where I lived, put on my headphones, pad of paper, would write to it. I would take them to him a couple days later at the park, and I'd sort of I reserve the right to ignore your, I'd be sort of like singing it to him, like with the song playing over the thing. He's like, oh, this is great. So, we decided then full LP, that's it. Westbeach is the place to go because that's where all the good recordings were coming from. And Instead had recorded there. All the Bad Religion records were recorded there. I think there may be another hardcore record, but yeah, some of those NoFX bands all recorded. But that was, to us, that was like the top of the heap as far as studios went. So we went to the studio, booked 2 days. I think it may have been 10 hours each day. We drove up Banks' truck. We set up. We used Davey's drums. We used Big Frank's bass. Banks brought like 4 guitars, maybe like a really nice guitar and a couple of cheap ones. We set it all up, and we plugged everything in, got the sounds with Brett, and Banks would basically he would know the riffs because he wrote the riffs, so he would have the timing in his head, and he would just go in there with the drum kit, play the song all the way through with the humming the guitar parts in his head, and then he would go back and he would record the guitar. Occasionally I would do a scratch bass, and I think maybe one of my bass takes made the LP for Addiction to Disease, maybe, but I would try to play along with him just to sort of give him a sort of a map to follow. But for the most part, he just did it humming those guitar parts. Then he would go back and play the guitar parts. We'd add the bass.
So there was no click track or anything.
I don't believe that he had any click track going on. I don't know if they even did that. I'm not sure, but I'm sure they did. But I don't believe he had anything clicking in his head. I don't even remember him having headphones on. I think he was just sort of in the room, with everything all set up with the mics and everything. And I think that was a big that was super impressive to Brett, who produced the record. He offered us a deal pretty much right then. He loved the 2-guy sort of thing. He offered us sort of a deal on Epitaph right then and there. But we're like, no, we don't want to fuck over Frank, because Frank was sort of putting it out on Nemesis. We had talked to him. But initially Frank had said, sight unseen or sight unheard, I can't offer you an LP. I can definitely put out a 7-inch. But then Frank came and heard the mixing of the first song, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna put out this LP. Even if it ruins his label, he's gonna put out the LP. So anyway, we puts out the LP. We spend, I think, a total of $800, I think, for recording and mixing. Banks had taken that money out of his bank for his student loan, or for his college, which I believe didn't make his mom very happy. We recorded those songs. We had a lot of Subway sandwiches up there. It was right in the heart of Hollywood. We would slide through a fence and go over to the Subway the Subway sandwich place on Hollywood Boulevard, and then come back with some Subway sandwiches. We'd mix a song. We'd get into Brett Gurewitz. We'd get into his Volvo, and we'd put a cassette in, and we'd listen to it in his car, and he'd be like, "Here's the secret. You got to listen to it real low. You listen to it real low, and the loudest thing you hear has to be turned down." Like that was his big secret to mixing songs. You turn it way, way down to almost where you can't hear it. There's going to be something that'll probably be louder than the rest. That's what you got to turn down. That was his big secret. And I still employ that to this day.
You guys do that for every song on the record?
Yeah. Well, I think we started with one song, and then we ended up we got sort of the mix down, and then we'd put 2 songs onto a cassette, and then we'd take and listen to it in his Volvo with 2 songs, and we sort of rock out to it and check it out, and that's how that was eventually mixed. But Brett was known for, that was his studio. He's known for producing and recording those Bad Religion records. Like we knew we were going to get a good sound, and when all was said and done, and that record got put out, and I think that was the only positive thing that Maximum Rock and Roll had to say about the record. He's like, "This is a great recording, but rich kids from suburbia can afford a great recording," which I thought was hilarious, because neither of us had that kind of money. Banks took it out of his college fund that he's supposed to be saving, and I didn't have a dime, obviously. So I just thought that was a funny review. But yeah, we ended up just mixing it that way.